I'm here in the National Forest today, and I'm going to teach you everything I know about finding dispersed camping for free in the National Forests. Everybody, it's Robin with Creativity RV, and welcome to episode 6 of Be a Nomad, Change Your Life. This one is all about how to find free dispersed camping in national forests. I'm really excited about this part of the series because I'm actually going to take you guys with me as I go to each of these kinds of camping places. So for my regular subscribers, this is going to be kind of a mix of education for the newbies and a way for you guys to follow my travels. So thanks for tuning in. By the way, this series goes every Sunday, so if you haven't already subscribed, please hit that little icon down in the lower right hand corner. I'm just outside of Estes Park, Colorado, which is a beautiful place, and I'm going to show you guys Estes Park in another video. But right now I'm in some dispersed camping that I found the other day, and I'm going to walk you guys through how I found it, show you some of it, and then I'm going to show you 2 other places that I camped recently in national forests. I grew up in Colorado. I was not a camper, but this feels like my home. So I've done a lot of other boondocking in other places. I've camped on the beach and I've camped in the desert and all over the place. Recently, I stealth camped in downtown Denver and then in Boulder for a few days on my way here. But there's just something about the national forest that makes me go, you have arrived, you are home. So I'm so excited to share it with you guys. Let's get right into how to find the best national forest camping. Well, there's lots of different ways to do it. The easiest way is if you're in the area, go into Google Maps and search National Forest near me. So I do near me searches all the time. RV dump station near me, which is where I get water sometimes. Campgrounds near me, state parks near me, libraries near me for the Wi-Fi, post office near me. You get the idea. Google will locate you and then give you a whole list down below. So if you do national forests near me, it's going to show you what national forest territories are nearby. Now, if you're already there and you have an internet signal, you can also search for Forest Service Road near me, because when you disperse camp in the national forest, most of the time you're on Forest Service roads. Now, it's not like boondocking, let's say, in the desert where you can go to a whole bunch of different places to camp. Most dispersed camping in national forests, you have to go down, the dirt road that's there on the Forest Service Road and go into a turnout. And I'll tell you, when I very first started, I thought that this was hard to find, and I just beat my head against a wall and went down these dirt roads that led to nothing. So I'm going to try and give you guys some tips so you don't have to beat your head against the wall like I did. So I'm going to put up a shot now of what one of these turnouts look like. It can be a turnout or it can be a circle, and the Forest Service actually creates these for us so that we have somewhere to go so we don't wreck the habitat, which is great. At the end of this, I'm actually going to give you some aerial shots of my last couple of spots, and one of those has a really good view of the turnout. So stay tuned for that. That's coming up at the end of the video. But what you want to do is do a search for National Forest near me or Forest Service Road near me, and then you want to go up to the corner and switch to satellite view. If you just use the regular maps view, they're not going to show you the dirt roads. I don't know if they're not mapped out or they don't know about them, but from the satellite view, you can actually scoop in and see all of the little turnout roads. Now that can still be a little bit dicey because you can't really tell how steep they are, or if they're crowded, or if for some reason they've been closed off when you're going to get there. So another thing to do is to check your apps, your camping apps. So I use freecampsites.net, but by the way, the GPS signal in there can be wrong sometimes, so I still recommend you go into Google Maps and scoop down in there and take a look at it before you go. Make sure you're going to the right place. Also, freecampsites.net is driven by reviewers, so there could be 100 spots next to the spot that somebody put in there that nobody knows about, and so nobody goes there, and they're all crowded into this one spot. So you can use the same kind of method. Go into freecampsites.net or Campendium or Allstays or RV Parky or Park Advisor or whatever app you use, and Tell it to give you directions to a spot if you're interested in it. Switch to the satellite view and scoop down into it so that you can see the dirt roads that are around there. If you're going to be doing a lot of dispersed camping or just boondocking on public lands in a particular state, I do recommend that you get one of these benchmark maps. Now this is the Colorado benchmark map, and I'm going to show you some shots of why this is so useful. I didn't think that I needed this. You can get a ton of maps for free online, and you can also download maps, which I've paid to do and done some for free, but they'll give you a little snippet of an area. And then if, I want to go somewhere 2 miles from there, I don't have that snippet and I don't have an internet connection to check it out. So I have found that this has been really helpful, because what this does is it really drills down into a particular state, and it gives you all of the recreation areas. It gives you all of the campgrounds, and it gives you all of the National Forest area or BLM area, and most importantly, it'll show you the paved roads, the dirt roads, and then some of the little squiggly offshoots of the roads, which is where we want to camp. So when I don't have a Wi-Fi connection, or I don't have an internet connection that's good enough for me to do this searching, I whip out this map, and sometimes I use this map even when I do have an internet connection, because it just gives me more detail than what I'm going to get in a regular Google map. As I've mentioned to you guys before, I also use the app US Public Lands. I did not put a link to that before in my last video where I mentioned it, because it depends on what kind of device you have, what link you need. So just go into whatever your app store is and search for US Public Lands. It's about $3, and it's actually made by another RV YouTuber named Technomadia. They're great, by the way, if you haven't seen their channel. But that app actually lets you zoom down into the different public areas so you can see what's National Forest, what's BLM, what's Army Corps of Engineer, etc. So that is also really helpful when you're searching for these places. Another thing I'd say is just, leave early in the morning, because even if you have a spot and you have a backup spot, sometimes you go down these roads and it's not what you expected. You might find something that you like even better than the one you thought you were going to, and the one you thought you were going to may not work out. So I recommend having, 2 or 3 spots maybe picked out, or a backup in town if you need to stay at a Walmart. But then once you get to your spot, let's talk about what the rules are so that you can just relax and enjoy it. So in National Forests, like in most public land, you can generally stay for 14 days before you have to move. Of course, all of these rules can change based on the jurisdiction of the forest and what the rules are for that forest. So I always go and look at the U.S. Forest Service website for that place. So let's say, for example, I'm in Pike National Forest or Roosevelt National Forest or something like that. I'll just go into Google and search for that, and then I'll be able to see who manages it. And by the way, great tip, if you don't know a good place to go, or you want a place that has a Wi-Fi signal, or you want a place that's more secluded, or you want a place with more people, whatever it is, call the little local ranger station. Their number is on the lower left-hand corner of that internet search page when you search for the National Forest, and just call them. They answer the phone, they're local, and you say, hey, I'm looking for this, and they'll give you spots, they'll give you suggestions. I've always had a great wealth of information given to me when I call those offices. So just call and see what the rules are. But generally 14 days. Sometimes they're 7 if it's really crowded, but generally 14. Then you have to move a certain length of miles to a new spot. If you're going to stay in that same area, it's generally a mile or 5 miles depending on the National Forest. Also, National Forest dispersed camping doesn't have like pit toilets or trash cans or water or anything like that. So you're going to need to pack in everything you're going to need for your length of stay, and then you're going to want to pack it all out following leave no trace principles. If you are not familiar with that, the name says it all. You want to leave the place the same as when you got there. No trace of human activity, no trash, no discarded TVs or diapers. You wouldn't believe some of the stuff I've seen out there. And if you're like me, you're going to pick up after other people when they don't leave the spot as nice as they should. Now, note about that, the closer you are to a town, the more likely you are to find the remnants of parties that have been out there, because people go out to party and then they leave. So the farther out into the boonies you go yourself, the better it's going to be for you to find a nice, clean, secluded spot. Okay, another rule is that you have to be so far from a water source. I'm going to have to look this one up, so look in the screen here. I think it's 200 feet you have to camp from a water source. So you cannot camp right on the banks of a river. And of course, don't dump your gray or black tanks right on the ground. So now let's get to the places that I've camped the last month and a half since I've been back in Colorado. I'm going to show you 3 spots, including the one that I have now. So right now I am just outside of Estes Park. I actually camped in a campground called Hermit Park for a couple of days because I knew that I was going to get into Estes Park later in the evening, and I wanted to know that I had a spot for sure to go to. I did not want an internet signal. I wanted to just completely not be connected to the world for a couple days. So I chose this campground to do that, and then I filled up with water, and I found my next spot, which is up a Forest Service road. Now, I happened to see the sign for this Forest Service road when I was on my way to the campground. When you start living an RV life, you're going to be amazed at the things you see that you never saw before, like Forest Service Road or National Forest Access this way, or sometimes there'll be a little sign that says FSR 232 or something that shows you the way up to a National Forest Road. They're not always signs, but I was surprised at how many signs are out there that I just never noticed before. So I got out my handy benchmark map because I did not have an internet signal at that campground, and I checked out that Forest Service road, and sure enough I went up that road and I found what I thought was a good spot, and then later on I actually moved to my new spot, which I love. Okay, the next place that I'm going to show you is up by Colorado Springs. This is off of a road called Rampart, and this is the one that has the really great view of the turnout. This is where I was staying in the Wacky Weather video, and I actually moved about a mile from there a few days later and then stayed there twice after that. There were a lot of people, but I had a view of Pikes Peak out my window that you just could not beat, and a screaming good internet signal. It was only about 3 miles from the town of Woodland Park, which is near Colorado Springs. And since that's a busier town, there were, people living in the forest there, and a lot of people that were living up there and then commuting into work, which is cool, but that just meant there were a lot of people. So it was good as a spot I'll go back to again, but it didn't give me a whole lot of seclusion. Now I'm going to show you guys the first place I ever camped up by Lake George, Colorado. I tell you, if you go for a hike in this place, it makes you want to slap on some lederhosen and twirl around singing "The Hills Are Alive" with the sound of music. That's how beautiful it is. So here's some footage of that. So that's it, guys. You can camp for free, disperse camping in the National Forest. There are tons of spots in which you can camp. There's several ways to find them, and I think you're going to love it once you get out here, or if you're already out here, please do put in the comments below what your favorite spots are for everybody else and for me, because I'd like to go visit. But be sure to subscribe if you guys haven't already to this series, Be a Nomad, Change Your Life. Every Sunday I'm coming out with another video that's going to show you how you can be a nomad full-time, and I'm putting them all in one playlist, which you can find in my playlist under Be a Nomad. So all of the resources you need are going to be in one place. Otherwise, I'm also going to be showing you my travels, so please stay tuned for that. Upcoming is a tour of Estes Park. Everybody please like, share, and subscribe, and I wish you all safe travels out there, and be free.